Hello there, how are you all doing? As is customary for people living in the UK, it's boring. Absolutely throwing it down as I'm sat in the car. So I thought I may as well start my next System For Dummies episode off. So at some point, you will see me jump to a different location, which is also customary for people who watch my videos. A lot of things are customary, which is something we'll get onto later on to do with the system as a whole. Their ideology, their symbols, their religion, their beliefs. But I thought I'd start off with the 3 pillars of society, because this is the framework that the system is built around, and all societies, all civilizations are built around the same 3 pillars, and everything else stems out from them. But remember, with the system, everything is 95% truth, 10% lies. And that filters down to everything they control, remember? So they too act in exactly the same way. And this applies to the 3 pillars. Rather than be a benefit to society, as they would be, because they are what is essential for a society to thrive, they've corrupted and inverted them, so they do the opposite of what they should. Those 3 pillars are a spiritual belief, or a spiritual framework, or a religion, a system of laws, politics, and the enforcement of those laws, and then a trade system, not just with yourselves, within your own communities, but those same systems, same trades with the outside world. And this applies to finance also, currency. All of those 3 act synergetically together. Yeah, they all act in synergy. They all must be maintained simultaneously, because if one fails, they all fail. Because morality, which comes from your spiritual belief, feeds into your laws and dictates those laws to a certain degree. Those laws in turn dictate what the religious system does. And those 2 affect the finance and trade, the belief system. And the trade affects the laws, the people who make those laws and the enforcement, and the morality again, the religious. So all 3 of those systems act as one. They're all essential for every single society. You can see it across the board all over the place. From there, everything else stems. So all your academia stems from there, all your business world stems from there, your education, your political system, everything stems from those 3 systems, those 3 pillars. When they work as one and work together and aren't inverted in any way, they are of a benefit to a society. They help you form alliances. They help keep your populations in line and obedient. But they also feed into society as well by having a sense of community. They like to earn money and they increase your financial stability. They also spread out into the wider world and interact with their systems of finance, their systems of religion, their systems of political control. So your diplomacy comes from that. See how it works? It's a kind of universal sort of law, yeah, or a universal system in a way. Every single civilization the world over has been based around those three pillars and those three systems, which is why we can interact with each other so much. Sometimes we have a falling out, starts a war. What the people behind the system have done is they've taken those three pillars and inverted them. So now your religion becomes your system of control, your domination, your dominion over those people spiritually and religiously. You bog them down. You don't allow them to become a true expression of what they are by tamping them down and not making them feel special, yeah, or making them realise their full potential. You break their spirit through drugs and everything else, yeah. Your laws you use to benefit yourself and not the common man. And also your allies in the business world, the finance world, that use debt slavery to enslave people, which ties again into the morality and the spiritual belief, which also bogs them down and tamps them down. Yeah? And those laws, again, you use that money to pay off the people that are behind the laws. You use the enforcement angle, which would be there to basically sort of prevent wrongdoing, yeah. Instead you use it to be your boot on their neck. It no longer becomes a system of arbitration, it becomes a system of dominance and corruption, which again feeds into your legal system and your financial system and your moral system, your religious system. From there, out of that, everything else snakes. So your academia then becomes corrupted. Academics can be paid off. You can pay off professors to toe the line that you want them to toe. Yeah, alter scientific data, as has happened with Harvard on plenty of occasions, and plenty of other universities that have found that a lot of their sort of tenured academics are in fact falsifying data on a massive scale. It's basically pay to prove, in a way. Yeah. The same is with the diplomatic world. Rather than actually try and create some sort of friendship treaty, yeah, or find new allies, you instead want to conquer and dominate, yeah, and destroy. In order to get our system back on track, in order for things to become better, and in order to actually rid ourselves of the system, we need to go to that baseline and foundational level and start again from there. And this is why it's so hard to get rid of them, because most people concentrate on the stuff above them rather than that foundational sort of, that foundation stone that is those three pillars. They exert this control through three hubs. A religious hub, which is the Vatican in Rome. The financial hub, which is the City of London. The square mile in the actual city, London, but it's the City of London, yeah? Which is tied to the crown, the entity of the crown, not the monarch. And then the third is Washington DC, which is the political and enforcement hub of the world. All three of those are states within a state. Yeah? They function as an entity unto themselves within the nation that they reside. They have their own laws, their own enforcement, their own police force, their own system of governance that overrides the actual national sort of enforcement and law structure. It overrides them within that little sort of piece of land or city that is theirs, in a way. Yeah, it's a bit like with embassies. If you go onto a foreign embassy, you have to abide by their rules, by their laws, because it's their plot of land, their piece of their nation within your nation. Well, these are separate entities entirely from the entire nation that we're in. This is the system's land. And no one can touch that. This has been the state of play for decades. At least 1925, which is when the takeover happened. To show their control over the rest of the world, they use particular symbols. They use secret societies to teach some of those symbols to people that they wish to put into places of power or positions of control within a society. Be that in the business world, academic world, entertainment, you name it. Many of these symbols are known full well by a great many people through secret societies like the Freemasons. More and more people have been looking into the Freemasons, looking into the symbology. Sorry. Looking at what they actually represent, or what they're told they represent. You see, certain symbols, certain aspects within Freemasonry aren't completely what you think. Take, for instance, the checkerboard floor. Everyone knows that's a system of the hidden and the visible and the invisible world. Yeah, the hidden and the non-hidden, the light and the dark. Yeah, that's the black and white checkerboard. But it's also a representation of the astral plane. The actual astral plane itself being a checkerboard of white and dark patches dotted all over the place. When you walk towards the altar to have your initiation, you are walking across the astral plane to reveal your new self. You become a new being within the brotherhood, get a new name, become a brother of that system in secret, the hidden you and the visible you. Remember, 3, 6 and 9, mind, body, spirit. So 33 takes on a new meaning once you understand that you're walking across the astral plane. You are then your astral self creating a new self. So you have your 3, which is visible, and your other 3 behind it, which is invisible. It becomes 2 sides of you standing together as one. 3, 3. Many people don't understand this, don't realise this. Many Freemasons don't understand this, don't realise this. But this is effectively what you are doing when you join the Freemasons. You are creating a new you within the brotherhood, within the system. A new mind, body, spirit. Because you are being enlightened, you are being taught, you are being elevated to a new kind of existence. At the same time, showing a separate mind, body, spirit to the world outside. 3, 3. Joachim and Boaz, the 2 pillars. One is white, one is black. One is light, one is dark. It is the doorway between the physical and the non-physical. the physical realm and the astral plane. One post in the corporeal world, one post in the spirit world. When you walk through, you're walking into a separate world entirely, which is represented by the checkerboard floor, the astral plane, towards the altar where you are to be made again. Much of the ritual of Freemasonry is purely symbolic. They believe it has some great meaning. 90% of it doesn't. It's just all bollocks. It's that initial part, that way you're crossing the astral plane, that creates the new you. That is the most important. The rest of it is just deity.
But as is always customary, time's shifted. Hair has disappeared, location has changed. It's pretty normal for one of my videos, I think you'll agree. So again, we're sticking with the customary things. I'm going to get back onto the symbolism angle after this section, because I think if you understand their religion, then you can understand the symbolism that they use. And I think the religious aspect, their ideological aspect, the slant that they take, I think is important to actually get into your head before you actually are dragged into the symbolism side of things. I've said this a couple of times before. The deities that they worship are primordial. They would call them a bit like the old ones that H.P. Lovecraft talks about in his work, in his books and in his short stories and his letters. Incidentally, Aleister Crowley often said that Lovecraft was actually tapped into the same sort of thing that he was.
It's the same place the Bible is warning us about? I think it is. I think there is something to this. I think that there is something to the inner earth. If you want to know more about it, I have videos on this where I interviewed Justin Fall about his film The Hollow Earth. So let's move on. H.P. Lovecraft would wake up screaming a lot of times. He would be paralyzed. He had, night terrors so bad that it was debilitating to him. Night after night, year after year, these same entities would visit him and terrorize him and torture him. Modern researchers, obviously we call it sleep paralysis, which we know, by the way, can be alleviated through prayer, through, calling on the name of Jesus can end sleep paralysis. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have stories like that. If you have, put it in the comments. I read a lot of you guys talking about your battles with sleep paralysis and how it ended with the name of Christ. Because sleep paralysis sufferers, most of them will describe the same stuff. Immobilizing, terrifying presences, right? Not being able to move, being paralyzed, being dragged through other dimensions sometimes, things sitting on them, things choking them, taking their breath away, a terror like they've never felt before. It's basically identical to what occultists call astral projection, and what demonologists call oppression, and what the Bible calls a spiritual attack. And then in, I think, 1919, 1920, Lovecraft's mom was committed to the same exact hospital that his dad died in. She went insane as well. She too never left that hospital and died shortly after. It's tragic for him, really. Two people the same institution, the same descent into madness. And their son, left alone, trying to make sense of these visions, these terrors that are plaguing him. He can't escape them. They're consuming his life, and that's all he can do is come up with ways that he can cope with it. So that's why he started writing everything down. Lovecraft never studied the occult. Like we talked about, he was a materialist. He was a skeptic. He totally dismissed all supernatural beliefs in anything. He didn't believe in anything supernatural whatsoever. He thought everything he was writing down was just fiction. But his dreams, they didn't care what he believed. No. His dreams persisted, and he kept writing. So there's a connection between what Crowley was doing and what Lovecraft was accessing. And that connection can be found in, I think there's a book, 1972, by a British occultist named Kenneth Grant. I'll put a picture of it on the screen right here. Grant published this magical revival book. And the thing about Grant, he wasn't some fringe figure just writing some book willy-nilly about magic, like he didn't know anything. No. He knew a lot. He'd actually had been Aleister Crowley's personal secretary, his student. I think he was called his chosen successor. So he was moving the Crowley magic forward. And he made this shocking claim that gets kind of pushed under the rug today, but I think it does change everything. And considering the context of it, I think it's important to talk about. So he argued that Lovecraft and Crowley were both unknowingly tapping into the same occult forces. That Crowley accessed them through deliberate ritual, and Lovecraft was plagued with them. He accessed them through night terrors. And, it was unconscious. He didn't want them. He didn't need them. They kept flooding him unconsciously, unwillingly, but no less authentically. So Grant wrote that through dreams, like what Lovecraft was having, contact can be established with ancient wisdoms that are forbidden to man. And the Bible tells us that contacting these things are absolutely forbidden. So if Grant, an occultist, a magician in his own right, is saying that these realms are forbidden to man, there's something there.
Most people will get bogged down by names, spellings, iconography, yada yada yada, to explain this sort of idea away. But the fact remains they were both tapping into the same sort of thing, and they both, at least Crowley could identify what Lovecraft was seeing. Lovecraft himself couldn't, because he was basically a skeptic and atheist. He didn't believe any of that. I just thought he was writing fiction. But at the end of the day, it doesn't look as though he was. Focusing on the Abrahamic faiths, focusing even on Satanism, Luciferianism, what could be considered fairly modern religions, really, including Hindu religions. Most of our religions that have been around for the past 600 years are in and of themselves fairly new. Even the pantheons of gods in Roman and Greek times, and the Aztec gods and blah 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 blah, are all new concept. If these gods are names and deities that we've long forgotten, that date far beyond past that time. I've talked about Robert Temple before, and his new theory of heaven, as he called it in his book, that we were interacting with plasma beings that we saw as gods, and were being possessed by these same entities. And the same thing with the what you could call dark matter, but it's more antimatter more than anything else. These same beings, these are the primordial sort of deities that we've modelled our subsequent gods after. The same personality types, the same traits, the same, I wouldn't say so much appearance, but the same ideas that transcend cultures globally are ever present in these entities that we interacted with. One thing you can be sure of, it's always three, and it's always a father, mother, child. Always father, mother, child. The reason being is because that also represents the three stages, the three elements of man: mind, body and spirit. Yeah? Mind, which is your logic, your thinking head, your id, yeah, this is in psychological terms. Your body, which is your emotional sense, and your emotion that governs you, and then the spirit, which is your religious affiliation maybe, or your spiritual sector. Because of the innocence of the child, that is the spiritual centre, and it's always learning, always acquiring knowledge from the other two sides, the other two aspects. The mother is the emotional centre, yes, and then the father is the logical mind behind it. It's from these points where everything else stems, yeah, which is where you get your three pillars of society from, because they are intrinsically linked with those same things, the logical or egotistical mind, which is the legal aspect, political, the leadership, the arbitration, yeah, which is linked to the father, the emotional centre and the body, the materialistic, which is linked to finance, trade, and then the spiritual or innocence or child, which is your religion. It's these three tenets, yeah, these three aspects, these three things that are ever present within everything that they do. All the symbolism, all the symbology, everything that they create revolves around the 3, the 6 and the 9. Remember how I explained 3, 6 and 9 before? The 3 is the human man, the human being, yeah? The mind, body and spirit. The 6 is the union between a man and a woman. The mind, body, spirit, which is the 6. And then the 9 is the product of that union between the mind, body and spirit, that mind, body and spirit to create a new mind, body and spirit, which is the divine purpose of every single person on the planet. Yeah? All of it, everything revolves around 3s, 6s and 9s. All the time. So now you know that, we can continue forward into the actual symbology. See, once you understand that religious belief behind them, you understand the ideological belief that's there, the names of the gods aren't important. It's their function, what they represent, that is more important. That is again the mind, the egotistical mind, the emotion, the body, and the spirit, the spiritual aspect. This makes them, essentially at their core from then on, extremely traditionalist. They believe in traditional values more than we do. They believe in spiritual belief more than we do. It's just that they understand the power behind those ideologies and those beliefs, whereas we don't. we've had them taken away from us. We've had them turned into tools of control, or had them inverted so that we can't understand their value and understand their power. And this is what they've done, along with other things in our distant past, trying to create a schism between us both by doing something very similar to what happened in 2020. They've actually created, in some respects, a better version of themselves, accidentally. I can go into great detail about why this is and how it happened. But to keep this more grounded, so to speak, I think it's best that I don't. So, this traditionalist values, these traditionalist ideas of what a man represents, what a woman represents, what a child represents, they've taken away from us, again, like I said, to take away and to hide the power that those things hold. A family unit is very strong, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. And anything that they can do to break that is an advantage to them. At the end of the day, they see themselves as gods and above us. Even more so today, after what happened in 2020. They attacked our genome. They did this on purpose, because they tried last time and they failed, and it brought all hell upon them. So now they're trying again, thinking they may have got the right thing this time, and they may well have done. But that's beside the point. So once you understand how they don't want these traditionalist values, how they want us to live by a different sort of ideology completely to what they are, the symbology begins to shine through a heck of a lot clearer, shall we say. Once you understand that the old gods, they're not the ones that you're presented with today, like Saturn and everyone else. The cube, the hexagram, all that. We'll get into the meaning of what that actually is, because it's not what people think. You will begin to see patterns emerge. Patterns that you may not have actually noticed before because you've been led to believe something else. And that's what we're going to get into. Well, once again, we've had a time shift. Not location shift this time. And the little diva that she is has decided she's going to be on camera whether I like it or not. Haven't you? Mish, yeah? What a bitch. Anyway. I've made this part of the video once already. And I was leaning more into the usual symbology stuff that everyone seems to post. But I don't think that's what you want to see. The origins of this are far deeper and not what a lot of people expect. I posted a video, a Dr. Karla Turner video, yesterday. Today is Monday the 19th. I posted it on Sunday the 18th. And it was 10 facts about alien abduction. And she goes into great detail about how no one is exactly sure who these beings are, or even what they're doing it for. She also leans into the military abduction side of things, which a lot of people don't. It's something that I've covered before, and then my video got taken down. I think I've covered it in another video since then. I can't even post this kind of stuff on TikTok. My labs are very, very taboo. The reason being is because we have names, we have bases, we know who's doing these things, we know what technology they use, and yet no one talks about it. No one talks about it for good reason, because then they have to admit something that they don't know about me. Number one, what we believe are aliens aren't aliens. And number two, the reasons for doing this aren't what people think. And number three, we know about this. And we allow it to happen. And we participate worst. So, whilst all the secret society stuff is interesting, it doesn't really get down to the meat and bones. The symbolism is very old. I think everyone can agree on that. What they can't agree on is the origins. And I've sort of covered this kind of thing in my Epics Wars and Maybe Alien Tech series. Again, I'll post a link down below and you can start going through that. Everything is magic at the end of the day. Whether it's technological magic or psychical, supernatural, psychophysical sort of magic, it's still magic at the end of the day. We may not perceive it as magic, but it is. That UFO video is extremely important. Because of what I hoped that it opened up in your mind. That what we're experiencing on this planet isn't what we believe it is. Our perception of things is heavily controlled, heavily curated, heavily doctored. Our minds are being altered and coerced and controlled to believe certain things and to dismiss others. This is why the whole alien question was ridiculed so badly from the early 1940s onwards. Why the abduction phenomenon was so lambasted. There's two reasons for this. The first is that on the one hand it covers up the military black projects that they have ongoing. This is the US and UK, by the way. Always has been, always will be. And then there's also the spiritual aspect that is vehemently ignored by most ufologists that are out there. There's only a few, and I'd say even the vast majority of those few are Christian sort of researchers that do excellent work, don't get me wrong, absolutely phenomenal work, but they try and bridge that gap between the real world and the religious world. And you can't do that. Because religion isn't what we've been told. We've gone into the Trinity, yeah? The Father, Mother and Child. And the other aspects which are the three pillars of society and the mind, body, spirit sort of aspect. There's also one more, and this is critical, and it's something I should have gone through beforehand and haven't. This is frequency, form, and number. Frequency, form, and number. Frequency creates number, creates form, number creates frequency, creates form, form creates number, creates frequency. This is the basis of reality. What sacred geometry is all about. Without those three tenets, which are still linked to the father, mother and child, the father is number, the mother is form, the frequency is the child, mind, body, spirit. You see? It's all interlinked. To understand how the world works, you need to understand a variety of subject matter and topics. Yeah? Which is why I say everything is connected. Everything that we study, from paranormal to ufology to conspiracy theory to intelligence, yeah, to reality, everything, right? It's all under one banner, which is the truth. There is no other topic. You specialise on one subject, you're going to get mired into that one subject and ignore the whole. You're going to get that one piece of the puzzle and be expert in that one piece of the puzzle, but you're going to ignore everything else around it. But to build up that kind of knowledge base, you need experience, you need time, and that's something I can't offer you. You just have to do this for yourself. The conclusions that you come to will come to you quite naturally. As long as you, like I always say, don't just take my word for it. I give you the tools in every single description, video description of my videos. Yeah? I give you links. Yes, it's a Telegram group. Don't let that put you off. Join Telegram, join that group. Because those links will take you to countless PDF books, documents, articles. The list is endless. This is my personal library. A lot of the time. I have other researchers on there as well that quite frankly are astounding researchers. We may not agree. Very often we don't. But I see they have an opinion to share. So, anyway, after that digression, this symbology is linked to the UFO phenomenon in more ways than you can imagine. There are particular aspects of it that feed into the way our symbols have been constructed and the way our symbols have been formed, extremely natural. I mentioned H.P. Lovecraft, yeah? And the links between him and Aleister Crowley. Even though Lovecraft was a skeptic, he was still seeing the same things that Crowley was summoning. The symbols that he was thinking he was creating in a fictional mindset were being used by Crowley independently in his rituals. The same can be said for John Dee. John Dee is probably one of the most striking and one of the most important figures in our history because of what he did, because of what he went in search of, and what he developed. The language he said that he was given, He didn't create the language, he was given this language, Enochian language, or Enochian script, which is angelic script. That's what he called it. That's what he stated it was. Many people just think he just made it up. Him and Edward Kelly. That's not true. They were given this language. And this language has been found all over the place, all over the world. People call it Proto-Hebrew or prehistoric Hebrew, some variant of Hebrew, because of the similarity between that and the Hebrew language. Modern Hebrew language is different. The fact is, this was a universal script, a universal language that was spoken all over the world. It's what was spoken before the Tower of Babel. Yeah? Again, like I've said before, the stories in the Bible, in the Old Testament, are talking about real events, not necessarily to do with the actual Jewish people, but to do with events that happened to humans in some way, shape or form across the annals of time. The Tower of Babel incident happened, not necessarily to do with the deity, but to do with an event, a cataclysm, something that we did that was deemed too close to the ball, so to speak. So then we were scattered around the globe. We were already scattered before then. What this is saying is that those communication ties were severed. That's what it's trying to tell us. That these different colonies that we had around the world were then separated. And from that one language, others sort of emerged, prospered, and filtered. This is why I see so many similar words all over the world. So likewise, because of that language, symbols are also universal. So you'll see the same things in every religion, you'll see the same thing in every spiritual belief. You'll see the same symbols in every culture. Numbers being a prime example, lucky numbers, numbers of significance, numbers that hold power, like the number 7 being another example. Number 7 is ubiquitous around the world as being a lucky number, as bringing good fortune. 9 is seen as divine around the whole world. Yeah, the number of completion. The reason why it's a number of completion is before it then becomes a double-digit number. Yeah, it's the last of the base numbers. The base numbers being the 1-digit numbers 1 to 9. 0 is a modern invention, but it sort of modern in a geological sense, shall we say. I don't mean modern as in a couple of 100 years ago, I mean modern as in a couple of 1,000 years ago. Eleven's another, 13's another, yeah, they hold power all over the place. 1s, 2s, 3, 6 and 9 are ubiquitous everywhere. You'll notice that all the time. Always a trinity. There's always a father, mother, child element, yeah, which is again the 3, 6 and 9. You get the idea. Energy, form, yeah, it's frequency, form, number, all the time, all the time. This is why mathematics works for understanding and explaining the universe. Because number breeds form, form breeds frequency, and frequency breeds number, and frequency breeds form, and number breeds frequency, and number breeds form. Yeah, they're all very interconnected and all interlinked. I showed a clip from the video. I'm going to do it again here too.
An exaggeration to say that to Pythagoras and his disciples, geometry and math held a key to the nature of all life everywhere, and maybe it does. Let's look at the first 4 geometric shapes: the circle, triangle, square, and pentagon. In each of them are angles of degrees that, when added together, always total a specific number relative to that particular shape. For instance, if we take a triangle, the sum total of all 3 interior angles is always 180. For both the square and circle, it is 360. For a pentagon, it is 540. Now at this moment, let's step back and look at these numbers in a different way, as there seems to be something about them that reaches beyond a simple sum of angles. Did you notice that they happen to be in the same numerical neighborhood as tone 432? What's more, they all add up to 9, just like 432. As an experiment, let's take a look at the numbers found in basic geometric shapes, then apply those numbers as vibration cycles to hear the tones they produce. First, let's listen to what the 180 total degrees contained in a triangle sound like. And here's a squares and circles 360 in cycles per second. A perfect octave up from the triangle. What about the pentagon at 540? That sounds like a harmonic fifth of the other two. That's interesting. What are these tones? They are F sharp and its perfect harmonic fifth of C sharp. Let's keep going. What does a hexagon 720 sound like? Another F sharp. Here's a 7-sided septagon, which totals 900. This is an A sharp, which happens to be the note required to complete an F sharp major chord in perfect 3-part harmony. And finally the octagon, where we get 1080, another C sharp. Suddenly, geometry is expressed by tones, and these tones just happen to create the most beautiful form of music, a perfect 3-part major chord in the key of F sharp.
So, sorry for the angle change. Still cooking. So, from that video, you should have been able to glean that sound is fundamental. Sound is instrumental to how number is converted into form. Yeah? The numbers being the angles, they being the area, the explanation, the logical representation of the form that we're seeing and the frequency that it gives off. This is fundamental to everything. This is why logos give you a certain sort of feeling when you see them. This is why certain words uplift you or make you feel worse. Yeah. In fact, words are one of the most obvious and yet most little understood expressions of that principle. There's a reason why certain words are targeted and changed. The spelling's changed, so then they look different on a page, even though they're said the same. It's to alter our perception of what those words actually mean and what those words actually do. This is why languages are perfected over time. This is why a great many occultists turn around and say that the English language is the most magically active language there is in the world. Because of what we do and how we create those sounds from our mouths. This again goes back to why we're being targeted by the system, white people in general. Particularly those with a Scandinavian sort of heritage or look. If you've got blue eyes, green eyes, or blue-green eyes, or even grey eyes, and blonde hair, red hair or strawberry blonde hair. The system is terrifying because you are the closest to them. Once you get this in your mind, once you get this into your head, once you begin to understand this side of things, everything else that you are lied to about, including the Jews rule the world narrative, which falls apart under Gladio anyway. But all that narrative crumbles once you actually look at the people that are controlling the world. Those European bloodlines. You begin to notice a very strong characteristic with them all. When you go looking for them and looking at the pictures, you realise, hang on a minute, they're all blonde haired and blue eyed. Wonder why that is there. Wonder why Himmler should have said, wanted just blonde haired and blue eyed people. Our history isn't what we've been taught. And I'm not talking the Tartarian fucking bollocks, right? If you come at me with that, I'm just going to slap you down. It's a CIA operation. Before that, it was a KGB operation. I've proved it a lot. Anatoly Fomenko was a KGB agent assigned to create a alternative history to make the USSR, the Soviet regime, legitimate historically. That's where the Tartarian narrative came from. It's just been adopted, co-opted and adapted by the CIA and then disseminated to everyone else. And all of you retards that are pushing this are adding your own mythology to it. Creating your own mythology. It's the same thing they did with ufology. Through a little outfit called the Mirage Men. Richard Doty was the head of that. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Lou Elizondo is just an extension of that. David Grush is just an extension of that. The PR men for the system. A system that knows full well what they're dealing with, knows full well what they're invited in and are aligning themselves with. They aren't aliens. Technically you could call them demons, yes. If you're spiritually minded, if that makes you more comfortable, but the more, not really interdimensional, the more extra ultra-terrestrial. They've always been, always have. Were created at the same time as we were. It's likely the only thing that the Islamic religion is actually truthful about. Because it's taken from ancient Persian mythology, Zoroastrianism. Jim. Shadow beings created at the same time as it. We just exist when we were playing. All of this, once you understand where all of this comes from, all of this history, the language that they use, how they create symbols in the first place to generate a certain frequency within people, you begin to understand symbology itself. I could talk to you till I'm blue in the face about what each symbol means and what effect it has, but you will never understand it until you understand how energy, how frequency, form and number work together. The best example of this is fractals. You look at the Mandelbrot set, the way, wherever you zoom in, it's exactly the same. No matter what it is, and the further you zoom in, it's still exactly the same. It never changes. It's infinite. Always holds that same form, that same numerical values, that same frequency at its base level. The same is true of their symbology. So once you see that, once you understand that, once you know that, you can see when they're using that symbology intentionally. You can see intent behind it. Hand signals, hand signs are a prime example. Yeah? Very often people are accused of being part of the Illuminati that aren't part of the Illuminati. It's just that they made a hand signal during a photo shoot. And a lot of time, the guy that's doing the photography is saying, just do this, it's cool, everyone's doing it, go on, go on. And they do it and then labelled forever. And they have no association with it at all. It's just that it was at the start of their career, they thought it'd make them more visible, more noticeable, and boost their career. It's materialism again. I think this is one of the most vital lessons I can give people, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of people that have perhaps good intentions behind what they're doing, but they make up evidence, believing that that evidence is true. And it's not. They'll take pictures of someone during a speech, yeah? Hand signals like this, yeah? Yes, it looks esoteric. It looks like a diamond, yeah? A Freemason diamond, but it's used to open the diaphragm during public speaking to create confidence, yeah? You'll notice when they speak, they lift their hands, and it's just to breathe correctly. It's not an esoteric symbol. When someone sat like that, it's a contemplative hand position that everybody does. Even you'll do it without realising it. When you sat like this, and you sat with that between your legs, it's a comfortable position. You're open, you're remaining open, but also displaying confidence. Yeah? It's body language, people. Yeah? For fuck's sake. Doesn't mean that they're automatically compromised. The hidden hand is another. Yeah? Sometimes people actually do stand like that. Yeah? Especially if they're a bit portly like me. It's comfortable. Especially if you've just eaten. This isn't 666 and doesn't automatically mean 666. It's just emphasising a point. See what I'm getting at? People have been overly saturated with this kind of nonsense. They really have. And they've been overly saturated by people who don't have the first clue about what they're talking about. In any way, shape or form. So yeah, I was going to talk about symbology. I was going to tell you what each symbol means, or the most commonly misunderstood ones. But quite frankly, I think doing this is far more important. These are the tools that you need to understand, to identify symbols correctly. And it first starts with intent. What is the person doing? Just making your symbols. I think next time we'll get into chaos magic, because this is another very sort of little understood aspect of the system. And I think that'll be the last episode, because that's all you'll need. Besides, these aren't getting many views anyway. As I've always said, I will never bullshit you. I'll try and lead you down the garden path, or allow myself to be audience captured. This is a prime example. Many of you aren't going to like what I've said throughout this whole either 1 or 2 part video. I can't decide which I'm going to do yet. This is probably why I don't get many views. Or don't get many people sharing my content. I know why I don't get many views, because YouTube won't allow it. But if you don't like what I said, don't just unsubscribe willy-nilly because, oh, I disagree with you. I didn't agree with what you said. You may not like what I've said, but it doesn't stop it from being true. But if you want to debate me on it, talk to me in the comments. There's plenty of people that follow me that do. Normally on Telegram, where they can speak more freely. And I'm very open to debate. We're always learning. We're never an expert. I'm always learning. I'm never an expert. But I'll give you the tools to try and prove me wrong. And I'll give you the evidence to look through yourself to try and pick apart my argument. If you can. Like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. I'll see you later. In most part, to truly understand what's going on, how we're controlled, who by, what by, and how to defeat it, we need to lose the shackles of everything that we've learned so far. Many of you are stuck behind motives and ideals and ideas that are meaningless and pointless and outdated, that have long served their purpose, but not in the way that you expect or that you believe. The way the world works is more nuanced than just one demographic alone. Or one particular demographic that you believe is in control when they're not. The monetary system, the financial system, the idea of wealth doesn't equate control until you people realise this, you will forever be shackled and restrained to this world, and forever under the slavery of those very same people that control you. Narrative is everything. 95% truth, 10% lies.